As Shane with the Social Freedom Tribe, I want to do a quick video on risk and attraction, and you'll see some parallels later on with this. So I wanted to start off with this study I've learned about in the book The Social Animal by David Brooks, where they talk about in one experiment with Cambridge University, they had these men cross this rickety bridge, and at the other end of that, this woman approached them after and gave them a questionnaire. And after the questionnaire, she gave them her number for follow-up research. And 65% of those men called her for a date. Meanwhile, when she did that same thing with men just sitting on a park bench, not actually haven't crossed that rickety bridge, they were just on a park bench, 30% of them called her for a date. So why did that happen? That's because the men that crossed the rickety bridge felt this energy, felt this fear that turned into excitement and attraction when they saw the woman on the other side. So it's this whole, they just felt energy, and before they labeled the energy and identified it as fear, they identified it as attraction and excitement because they saw the woman. So what ends up happening is that I see a lot of guys taking these non-risky approaches that don't actually induce this energy in women, and it's really unfortunate because they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're doing this online dating thing where there's no energy being created, there's no risk, there's no action taking in a energetic manner that causes excitement and attraction. And it's really unfortunate because I see these guys keep trying this whole thing and they're putting it on themselves. They actually think that it's their fault. They think that it's their identity that they're not attractive. And I want to pull apart attraction from identity, from something that is us. We are not necessarily attraction. We are not necessarily attractive or non-attractive. Attraction is just something that happens with somebody else. So if somebody else is feeling attraction, let's take that off from we are attractive or we are unattractive. And so a lot of guys, unfortunately, they think that it's money, looks, height, penis size. Who knows what men think? They think that if they show their toys, like a shiny Ferrari or something like that, the woman will be attracted, or if they show their biceps in a certain way. It's really unfortunate because actually the media pushes this idea, because the media is just a bunch of people that don't really know what they're talking about, and they just push this confident idea of all these mass belief things that are just really unfortunate. There's no room for nuanced neuroscience in media, so people actually learn that it has supposed to be looks and money. And there's a study on this in Mindwise by Nicholas Epley. Not necessarily a study, but this book talks about psychologists and neurologists have realized that people actually are very accurate when they talk about what they're feeling or the decisions they want to make. They actually have a good sense of what they're feeling or the action they want to take. However, if you ask them why they feel that way or why they want to make that decision, the only thing that will really result is a story. So what ends up happening is that women feel this attraction, and if you ask them why they feel it, they might not actually know. They'll tell their story of why they think that would be the case. And some women are actually like really, really intuitively smart. They understand, they've had enough experience that they're like, oh, I think it's this and this and this. And when he said this, I felt this energy and blah, blah, blah. So they actually kind of really understand it. A lot of women do. I mean, women have a better sense of social skills than men do. And I'm not trying to say that women don't know what they're talking about. I'm just saying that humans in general don't know why we feel the way we do. So if you ask a man why he feels attraction, it's going to be like, oh, this and this and this, when he doesn't actually have an idea either. So when we get out of this whole sense of, oh, it's looks and blah, 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 it's something like what in my control is causing attraction, we can just realize that it's just, attraction is just something that happens within somebody else's world, and it might not be something that attributed to whether we are attractive or not, if that makes sense. So it's something that energetically happens for them. the man crosses a rickety bridge, and then he feels the energy and puts it to attraction. So I see men shoot themselves in the foot when they're doing this online dating thing, or taking a puppy to a bar and waiting for a woman to walk up to them, because they're not doing energy-inducing activities. Maybe the woman feels this whole cuddly energy from the dog, but it's not necessarily this kind of like high excitement that gets turned into attraction for the man. And when a man actually just takes this risk and just doesn't approach, the woman might feel like, whoa, and it might be this time where she's trying to figure out, should I be creeped out, afraid, or excited and attracted? And during that time, if a man just really stays, respects her boundaries, like this is the biggest thing that I think men should really learn how to do, is respect a woman's boundaries, back off if she seems uncomfortable, so really start looking at how the person seems, and just start getting an empathetic, compassionate understanding of what's going on for the person, and start really learning how to back off and help her feel comfortable. That way, when you do this energy-inducing approach and walking up to somebody, then when you back off and you keep it within comfort and just keep talking, maybe keep saying surprising energy-inducing things and not from an outcome-dependent mindset, meaning when you're speaking and you're doing it very theoretically. You can tell if I was speaking in a way that was like, I need to get followers. How do I get followers? And I'm following some kind of like very theoretical kind of mindset. It's like, I heard that if I do this and this, I will get you as a follower. Yeah, I'm gonna follow this and this and this. And you can tell there's like some fakeness to it and all of that, and it's really just feels kind of gross. You can just feel into your body if I'm doing that. It just kind of feels gross. But if I'm just really doing some kind of like experimental thing where I'm really just taking risks, and I lose this mindset of, did that work? Did that manipulate you into becoming my follower? Or some other kind of outcome dependent mindset of, if I'm walking up to a girl, like, I need it to work and I need to follow this theoretical way of doing it. If I'm really just backing off from that and I'm just doing it from an experimental mindset of, there is no failure because every action just builds this intuition. So if I walk up and I say, hey, check out my Ferrari, and she says, ugh, you're gross, and walks away, some people will see that as failure because they need it to work with her. And they need it to work now. But some other people can actually see it as, if I just take action and then just see what happens, I'm building my intuition. And there's a part of the brain that is called the insula, and The Art of Risk by Kate Sikel talks about this. The insula is the intuitive part of the brain that connects to the hippocampus. And what it does is, basically, the hippocampus is the memory part, and the insula is this brain-body emotional connection part of the brain. And what it does is it connects emotion to memories. So, and the reason that's important is, in the future, when you have this large amount of data that's past experiences connected to emotion, what you can do is instantly have some kind of intuition around what to do in any kind of circumstance. So if you go out for 7 years and every single day you're just constantly socializing with strangers, trying different things, then you're building this large pool of experiences attached to emotion. And next time when you walk up to her and you're about to say, hey, check out my Ferrari, you have this memory that's attached to a negative emotion, and it says, whoa, hey, how about instead ask, how are you doing? Because I have positive emotions associated with that. And you're coming from less of a theoretical mindset, and you're coming more from an intuitive mindset, where the theoretical mindset is, how do I get this outcome? And the intuitive is kind of just more free-flowing, and just, I'm kind of surrendering to my audience. This is harder with just a camera, but if I was in front of you, I could see your face, and I could see this whole grossed out kind of thing, or like happy kind of thing, and I can start actually attaching positive emotions within my body to the actions or words that I've said. And what ends up happening is I get this free-flowing, intuitive sense, rather than this whole theoretical, how do I get you? And I start actually getting more followers purely from putting out more material and then seeing what people like and what people don't like, and just acting more from an intuitive place and just trusting and surrendering to that rather than starting this from a theoretical place. Theory has its place. I love reading books, as you can tell. I love quoting books and stuff like that. However, the place that I come from is more of an experimental mindset. So I first learn the theory, and then I form experiments with that, where I go out and I try one way and then I try the opposite way, depending on that theory. And I love learning from people that are leaders and that have this large pool of experience, where they tell me the patterns that they've recognized. And the reason I do that is because I love using their pattern recognition from all that large pool of experience to cut down on my learning curve and find the same patterns. And I would have something to build an experiment with. I'm not learning from somebody that, oh, this is what works, and just following that and not questioning it and kind of deferring to somebody else, because that's a follower mindset. The leader is the person that can jump into a chaotic situation, trust himself or herself, and just start acting and just learn from the consequences of that, versus somebody who's just more theoretical, and if there's a situation that they've never learned the theory around, they kind of freeze and don't know what to do and just wait for somebody else to do it. It's kind of a difference between that, where if we stop seeing failure as failure and we just see it as building our insula and building our hippocampus so we can build our intuition, then we can have this much more free-flowing, risk-taking kind of mindset. And once we do that, then we can start triggering attraction in people, or just triggering not just attraction sexually or romantically, but triggering attraction in a way that maybe people of the same sex or people that are not romantically attracted to you get attracted to you in a way that they want to be your follower, and they want to actually see what's going on with you, and they don't actually understand why, but they feel this sense of excitement when around you, and they feel like they are leveling up their lives. And so really, I just hope that we take some risks today and we just learn from them rather than seeing everything as failure or success. It's good to have a kind of goal behind something, but realize that the best way to do goals is more of a zigzag nature and not necessarily always a straight going towards the goal, if that makes sense. It's a way that we can free flow and experiment and see what doesn't work and what does, and have more of an intuition around it rather than just a theoretical mindset that we have to have certain outcomes around something. It's the whole difference between happiness is something for the future, like light at the end of the tunnel, versus, and I'm going to be stressed out and hate my life now, versus a mindset of, wow, this is really fun, and I'm enjoying myself while I'm taking these experiments, and I have this sense of curiosity where I wonder what happens if I do X, and I wonder what happens if I do Y, and learning from that and just taking that in and having a more intuitive mindset in the future rather than having a theoretical mindset where we're not actually learning. And let's take it as a look of, in 5 years, which mindset would have somebody stronger? The person that just followed one way, or the person that followed multiple ways, really paid attention to the present moment, to the person's face, was able to intuitively or empathetically understand what was going on for them, had emotional reactions in the body, stayed present with those, connected those to the memories, and just acts from a more intuitive place. I think that person will have a much deeper intuition to draw from, and would have more excitement around doing so their whole lives. They would enjoy taking those actions and taking those risks and just seeing what happens, versus the person that needs a certain outcome now. I love you guys, and I hope you take some intuitive learning and building risks today. Have fun. Peace.